Hello, my name is Shtein. I'm a Russian political activist, independent municipal deputy and a member of PussyRiot. Today I'm standing in for Masha Alekhina because she was once again jailed for 15 days, this time on an absurd charge of promoting Nazism. That's the new thing the authorities came up with a couple of months ago. They now have a whole task force in the special anti-extremism branch whose only job is to sit behind their computers and back-search our social networks, looking for anything they can charge us with. They have already used these tactics against us last December. My crime was reposting a picture on Twitter 3 years ago. The picture was a stupid political attack ad made by some anonymous hater who took a photo of me and photoshopped an SS visor cap on it. I have reposted it with a comment saying how stupid and offensive it was, especially since I'm Jewish. 3 years later, a judge in Moscow looked at this post and decided that I'm into Nazism and must spend 15 days in jail, which I did just before the new year. Masha's crime was very similar. It was a 7-year-old Facebook post, a picture of Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko, surrounded by Indian swastikas with dots. She was in India then. The point was obviously that Lukashenko is a tyrant and Nazi, but the judge decided that Masha is also a Nazi sympathizer and also put her in jail. So Masha is in jail again on similar charges, and I'm not, thanks mostly to my laziness, because we planned to go out together, but I decided to stay at home. Since then I haven't left the house, because if I do, they are going to arrest me as well. And someone has to take care of our little pet rat. And it's not just about the two of us. A feminist activist, Daria Sirenko, was jailed for posting the logo of an election project hosted by Alexei Navalny, the corruption investigator and the main Russian opposition politician nowadays. Navalny was poisoned by security services and now is serving his criminal sentence in prison, recognized as an extremist and terrorist. This logo, the red exclamation mark posted by Sirenko, is not even officially recognized as an extremist symbol, but that didn't prevent Daria from going to jail. The authorities now arrest people for anything, literally anything, related to Navalny and his anti-corruption foundation. The most unbelievable thing is that at the same time, the head of the Chechnya region of Russia, Ramzan Kadyrov, and his officials are publicly threatening to kill the whole family, making statements on Instagram like, "We will persecute them until we cut off their heads in the name of Allah." This is the exit quote. The point is that they suspect two brothers in running a Telegram channel criticizing the Chechen authorities and Kadyrov personally. Now Kadyrov demands to recognize them as terrorists. Their elderly mother, who suffers from diabetes, was kidnapped from another city by security forces. They dragged her through the snow without any outerwear and shoes. She was brought to Chechnya and imprisoned by the fake charge of attacking a police officer. Now she is facing 10 years in jail. The Kremlin screams about the extremism in social networks and sends people in prison for years for tweets, but ignores the situation in Chechnya, avoiding any questions. Just think about it. The presidential press secretary said that the blood feud is a tradition of Chechnya, and although it doesn't correlate with the law, it is such a specificity, and that they don't want to interfere. That's all he said. The Kremlin gives Chechnya about $4 billion every year. To compare, it's a 6-year budget of the Yekaterinburg city, which is larger than Chechnya. Kadyrov has a large army of thugs that Putin is afraid of, So he preferred to ignore things like murders, kidnapping, special jails for LGBT people in Chechnya, and just pays them off. Returning to our story, over the last year I have been arrested for 15 days for 3 times, and Masha is serving her 4th arrest now. All this happens against the background of our criminal case, which was initiated a year ago after the protest rally supporting Navalny, who just came back to Russia after recovering from poisoning by security services and was imprisoned. The case is based on our appeals on Twitter for people to join the protest. The main charge against us is that by urging people to participate in the protest, we incited COVID patients to violate sanitary standards and rules, and thereby risk spreading the virus. It's absolutely bullshit. Russia seems to be the only state which used a pandemic to manipulate and eliminate political activists, even while ignoring the COVID rules whenever it suits their purpose. At the same time, they held a concert in Russia's largest stadium in honor of the annexation of Crimea, and in which President Vladimir Putin participated. Like 80,000 people without any distance and, of course, not wearing masks. The funny thing is that many activists, including me, got COVID in paddy wagons, police departments or the detention centers. So we spent 7 months under house arrest during the investigation and then were found guilty and sentenced to the year of the restriction of freedom. It means that we have to stay home at night. Therefore, we're wearing electronic ankle tags on our legs, and we are forbidden to leave Moscow and participate in public events. Also, we have to check in at the police supervisory department twice a month. And the fun fact is that last time Masha was arrested right on the exit of this after she checked in. But obviously this wasn't enough, because despite the electronic ankle tags, we're being regularly arrested under some stupid charges. Last summer, Masha and several members of PussyRiot were arrested after their release from the detention center right at the exit or on the next day and re-arrested for another 15 days. I managed to get home after release and wait it out, as I'm trying to do now. Navalny's arrest finally untied the authorities' hands because nothing happened. People are scared and not ready to fight. So a new wave of repression began. Lots of people, even those who participated in the protest rally for the first time, were imprisoned for many years, mainly on the attacking policemen charges. In fact, it was the opposite. The police attacked peaceful protesters and beat them. 19-year-old guy was imprisoned for several years for kicking a police car, not even damaging it. Another guy grabbed the policeman's helmet, and so on. Yesterday, 16-year-old teenager was sentenced to 5 years in prison, found guilty in terrorism. What has he done? Maybe he threatened to cut people's heads off? Wait for it. He constructed Federal Security Services main building in Minecraft to blow it up. In the computer game, it's not a joke. Prosecutors considers that he was preparing a terrorist attack, preparing in Minecraft. Pregnant Lilia Chanisheva, who headed Navalny's headquarters in Ufa, is waiting for her trial in the remand prison for several months and facing 10 years in prison. Also, criminal cases about insulting the believers' feelings, like the famous PussyRiot case, became more frequent. Now you can be jailed even for the charge that accidentally got into the frame when you were making the nudes. Hundreds or even thousands of cases like this. I could take all day telling about it. Also, over the past year, almost all media and even some journalists personally have been labeled as foreign agents. It means that they have to mark each publication with a huge disclaimer telling about their new status and report to the Ministry of Justice on their finances. Agent status complicates the work since advertisers prefer to avoid spoiling relations with the authorities and leave. However, readers and donators still stay with this media and support them because there is just nothing more to read and everyone got used to these marks. Anyone who receives any foreign bank transfer can be recognized as a foreign agent. This thing about foreign agents has become almost a national idea. The Kremlin's propagandists do their best turning people against Western countries, blaming them for all Russia's problems. Our government spends billions to fight imaginary NATO soldiers who desire to surround us so much. They tell us how the US and Europe are rooting and how they're invading us, so they have the intention to destroy Russia to introduce their non-traditional values. The Ministry of Culture even created a register of Russian traditional values and a list of threats that can ruin these values. Of course, the list was led by the United States. The authorities claim that any person who criticizes their actions is receiving salaries from the US State Department. There are only two options for those who are fighting this power: go to prison or leave the country. Normal life became impossible. For example, you can't work here, because there are two types of organizations that are also being repressed and that don't want to deal with it. Therefore, with you personally, because you can compromise their peaceful existence. They don't want to face the fact that repressions can touch them at any moment, because repressions have no logic. Activists and journalists who aren't under any type of arrest are being forced to leave Russia, like Navalny's associates or most of the members of PussyRiot. But you still have a risk of coming under pressure even in immigration. They aren't even ashamed to take revenge by opening a criminal case against your elderly father and putting him in jail, like it happened with Ivan Zhdanov, the director of the Anti-Corruption Foundation.